There we are. I believe we are live. We are. Oops, actually, usually have this tilted over a bit. Gotta rearrange that camera a little. It's pointing the right. Oh, that's a problem. I'm gonna make a few more adjustments here. There we go. Hey, Master Chief. Just get a few things worked out here. They were a little confussed. Actually, I probably need to adjust this a little bit too. Ooh, a bit too much. Problem with having multiple cameras. There we go. Hey, Spindowin. Good to see ya. On yet another Friday night. Just finished my Garden of Sinners review about an hour ago. Writing it. I'll be recording that a little later on tonight. We've got some news. A fun dramatic reading. And a whole bunch of stuff planned for tonight. So let's go ahead and start with the news as usual. And we'll go ahead and just get set up for that. And let's just do the news. Let me know if everything's working for you guys. The first Garden of Sinners. The deal is, folks can ask me to watch and review something, but I'm only going to watch a movie. Not, I'm not going to watch every single thing or whatever. It'll be a movie. Hey, Tonto, good to see you. Glad to have you. Let's move into the news. Felt a physical pain afterwards. Is that good or bad? Okay. Let's go ahead and do the news. Welcome back to the latest anime news for the week ending April 27th, 2018. Starting off with more news about the upcoming Studio Ghibli theme park. That's right, more concept art has been released, revealing many areas, including a replica of the Princess Mononoke village, a street from Kiki's delivery service, a miniature Howl's Moving Castle, a replica of the house from My Neighbor Totoro, an environment, and a Whisper of the Heart antique shop. The park should open in Aichi Prefecture about 4 years from now. Boy, am I looking forward to that. Meanwhile, Kenichi Sonoda's mysterious new project has now been revealed. Project BB refers to Bean Bandit, admittedly not a particularly tough mystery, and will be a crossover anime of some kind, series, movie, OVA, not sure, that also includes Raleigh Vincent and Minnie May Hopkins from Gunsmith Cats. A preview will be shown at Anime Central in Chicago in May. So if you're heading over there, that might be something worth looking at. And speaking of Gunsmith Cats, the recent Kickstarter for a North American Blu-ray release has done well. Like, really well. It's raised over $300,000 US, which meets all of its stretch goals, including an English commentary track for episode 3. Other stretch goals involve commentary tracks from 7 other Japanese and North American staff, plus new materials by Kenichi Sonoda, the creator. Comics, stickers, all sorts of cool stuff. It met its initial goal in only 4 hours. Granted, it's an easy sell, a short OVA set in America that actually gets American culture right, so that's kind of nice. Mamoru Hosoda's newest film, Mirai of the Future, will also screen at the Annecy Animation Festival this June. It will be in competition for Annecy's awards. In addition, Liz and the Blue Bird and Mari Okada's Makwaya, I think I'm pronouncing that right, will be screened at Annecy but are not up for awards themselves. So, certainly making the awards circuit. Then, after all the drama around Nobuhiro Watsuki's arrest on possession of DVDs with nude underage girls, the future of the Rurouni Kenshin sequel manga was thrown into doubt. But now that Watsuki has kind of gone through the process, expressed his regret, and is, quote, living a life of reflection and atonement, Jump SQ has announced that they'll resume the manga on June 4th. As they put it, continuing the manga to answer the desires of fans was a matter of duty. So we'll be getting more Kenshin soon enough. Finally, I hope you were not planning to go to the Universal Fan Con convention in Baltimore, Maryland this week. less than a week before the con was supposed to happen, this was like on Sunday, the organizers announced that they were postponing the convention. Not canceling it, mind you, just postponing it. Apparently, they weren't making enough money to put on the convention and make their budget. So, convention's just not happening. The Baltimore Science Fiction Society then announced that they're putting on events over the weekend in their own space to cater to folks who had already made the trip. And other nearby fan organizations are trying to make alternate arrangements. And at least one Japanese guest has expressed regret for what's happened. Here's hoping the organizers do the same. Okay. No, there's no anime called Naruto. No, you must be confusing with something else. Don't know what you're talking about there. So yeah, that Ghibli Park looks gorgeous. Let me just pop up. Switch back to that. There's the Ghibli Park. In fact, I think I can real quick. Can I expand that a little bit? Yeah, give you guys a better look at that, the Ghibli Park design. So it's a bunch of different areas. And this is just part of it. A bunch of different areas, all for different pieces of different Studio Ghibli films, all there in one place. That's going to be amazing. I'm really, that's just nuts. All right. So how are you all doing? How has your anime week been? We'll do that. We'll come back to there. And, I'm thinking tonight for the dramatic reading, I might do a puppet. You finished Utena. Nice, Bintuin. What did you think of Revolutionary Girl Utena? Shoujo Kakume Utena? Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to grab the puppets. Oh, cool. Glad to hear that. I'm definitely looking forward to that at some point. Yeah, give me 60 seconds, and I'm going to go grab my puppets. And come on, really, how many other YouTubers are going to say things like, hang on while I grab my puppets? All right, so who do you think would be best for an over-the-top dramatic reading? We could do... Hello. You probably know me, but I'm probably a little bit too normal for a dramatic reading, I think, maybe perhaps. Yeah, I think Naruto is the hentai. I think that's what you're thinking of. We got this. Oh, this is pretty good. We've also got. Hey, how you doing? I could probably be pretty good at a dramatic reading. I don't know. Huh. What do you think? Don't know. Let's see here. I've got him. I don't know how. Do a little bit of articulation there. I have some thoughts about anime. I think it is overall a good thing. But I'm not sure. Dunno. So Tandem T, you go on to my anime list and type in Naruto porn. It'll take you right there. It's great. That's not it. That's not it. Is that a puppet? It is. Ooh. That might work. This might work. Awful hard to see, though. Yeah, this is a tough one. I think you're all crazy! You're all crazy! Nah! Not sure about that. The problem with the crow puppet, I really like it. I really like the idea of a crow puppet, but it's just one big massive black. You know, you can't see the eyes. You can't see really anything of the puppet itself. It actually does have little eyes in there, but you know, straight on it's just this whole big, massive black things, and you can't. At least I can't. No, the feathers are just, you know, I can't control them, so it doesn't read on camera very well. Ooh, Red Turtle, beautiful film. Beautiful film. And then, oh yeah, a couple more. We've got, oh, he might work. I feel like I could be a pretty good troll. I don't know. What do you think? Unfortunately, my mouth doesn't really close that well. Like, that's as far down as it goes. But maybe that works for an internet troll. I don't know. Maybe this? I don't know. I will almost certainly not watch Infinity War. Almost certainly. I cannot imagine an environment in which I would do that. Or we could go here. Well, yes. Let's see what today's dramatic reading would be, and what would be appropriate for that. Oh yeah, it's about hentai, actually. That's funny. So it feels to, well, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna do that, the joke writes itself, right? The bearded dragon, I think for something else. I think you know, if you're doing something about H, this animal just really, come on, right? There's just no nowhere else to go on that one. But the bearded dragon I like a lot. I think your instinct is right there in terms of a character. Maybe that'll be one of the standard ones. Yeah, copyright problems. If you know, I would love to be using that kind of material. I've actually been thinking about learning to write music, specifically because I have so much trouble actually using any pop material in any of my stuff. Like any images, any movie just gets flagged immediately. It's so annoying. But yeah. All right. Maybe do some animations in Blender or something just for interstitials. Like not animation, just like, you know, little CGI cubes spinning or something like that. Gah. So annoying. All right. Yeah. I think we're going to do that. So the question then is how hard it's going to be. This is going to be interesting. I need to, wow. So I would need to do this and do that. But I'd also need to be able to click through left-handed. This is going to be fun. All right. I'm going to try. We may be doing this multiple times. We'll see how well this goes. How to get those eyes visible. I may have to muck about a bit inside this guy because those eyes just don't show up. Okay. So this is a dramatic reading of an anime post. Whoa, that doesn't work at all. Hold on. I wasn't even in the mouth. Another thing you'd expect to see on a thing like this, right? All right, wait for that to redo. Okay. Let's transition. Oop. Okay. I'm gonna try this. This is a dramatic reading of an anime post from 20 years ago today. Yes. Anime... Well, that didn't work. Hold on. Ah. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Decided to have some weirdness on the thing, and then of course that crashes. We'll be there. We'll get there in just a few moments. Okay. It's always when I think things are going to go well, things all fall apart. Funny how that is. Ah, why is that? No. I'm getting really annoyed here. Okay. Let's see here. All right. This is a dramatic reading of an anime post from 20 years ago today. Joshua wrote the following. Yes, anime elitists seem to just love bashing H, don't they? I find it extremely hard to believe that they actually dislike looking at nudity. Anyone who claims they don't like nudity and sex are either lying or they're not human, like the people in the parental advisory board. While I'm one to admit that sex does carry some evils, the whole taboo about it has been blown way out of proportion. The taboo on sex is partially due to exploitation, but exploitation is a moot point when you're dealing with anime. The main reason for the taboo, I think, is merely the embarrassment the subject causes. Nothing more. And since sex is basically seen, sex and nudity is basically seen as something evil, people are just trying to show us what nice, innocent Christian boys they can be by bashing H, and it often leads to really inane arguments which have to do with how necessary nudity in anime is. Funny how this belief that if something isn't totally, entirely, 100% essential to keeping the plot going, it should be left out, only seems to apply to sex and nudity. Say, the funny scenes in Fushigi Yugi weren't 100% necessary to keep the plot going. Guess we better get rid of them. A lot of times I see people bashing H anime, and it's obvious they never actually watched it. It's just so amusing hearing people refer to Ray Ray as a tentacle rape anime. The only things here that have been unnecessary are all the arguments against H. Oh sure, it's everyone's right to post their arguments here, but virtually all the anti-H arguments I've seen have been repetitive, weak, half-assed, and, since I happen to be an H artist, extremely annoying. So there. Okay, I'm gonna have to mute my phone because work has decided to post constantly at 9:30 at night. 1 second. Folks have decided to talk about sports in the main business channel. And the thing about Ronald, though, is that Ronald doesn't get upset. You know, he doesn't go nuts about these things. That didn't seem unreasonable. You think only Christians have a problem with hentai? Christian boys, by the way, have a problem with hentai and those things. Like, you know, the charge against H has not been led by Christian boys. H is not healthy. No. He literally wrote, "People are just trying to show us what nice, innocent Christian boys they can be by bashing H." That was literally the statement. I just quoted him. Or whoever it was. Here. "People are just trying to show us what nice, innocent Christian boys they can be by bashing H." That's literally the statement. Word for word, that is literally the statement. See? Dry British voice is fine, but that would be more for like a takedown, I think. I don't see this as joking. I think the poster is I mean, obviously there's some hyperbole there, but the fundamental point, I mean, we'll bring up some more of that. Anyone who claims they don't like nudity and sex are either lying or they're not human. Really? Everyone has the same, everyone likes the same thing. Everyone likes this one thing. Everyone likes porn, is basically what he's saying. And everybody likes looking at nudity. No. There are people who don't have that interest. And also the idea that exploitation doesn't matter because it's anime is thoroughly false. Like no. You know, more specifically, you know, yes, there is exploitation involved with, you know, live characters, but exploitation is still a feature of that industry. Spin to win, that's a really provocative argument. You know, that's basically saying everyone who doesn't, you know, believe this is deviant. If I'm understanding your argument correctly. But yeah, exploitation happens even when it's not real people on screen. So it's like, that's, sure, liking sex is natural. Pornography is not, but that is conflating pornography with sex. Those are two different things, right? Hentai is not sex. Those are different arguments. Heck, hentai is not nudity, right? Anyway, let me move on to the review. I won't have to do a bunch of different things. Let's see here. I've got the title up. Good. I won't be able to really do... Well, maybe. Maybe I can do the various elements. We'll see. Okay. Oh, I need to have this up. Sorry, I'm getting literally texts from work about some sports game, and I gotta just make sure. And now they're talking about work, so I'm gonna have to mute this for a moment. Sorry, because it keeps buzzing right next to the phone. Why is porn a huge industry? Because it capitalizes on a desire in a highly appealing and ultimately destructive way. It takes a part of society and twists and glorifies it and shapes it in a very specific way that is extremely problematic for society. Let's see here. I mean, if you're doing the argument that, porn simply satisfies a need, it does not simply satisfy a need. Slack. How do I... Details? Oh, there it is. No. This phone. Okay. There we go. Have to turn that back on later. But meanwhile... oops. That goes nuts. Okay. So actually, what I'm going to do real quick... Yeah, sex and sexuality are parts of society, and society impacts sex and sexuality. Very, very clearly and definitely. Well, porn is more than just legal prostitution, though. There's all sorts of other elements to how it affects society. Your prostitution is a fundamentally private act, which has its, pluses and minuses, so to speak, whereas pornography is much more broad. And has much broader effects as a result. Okay, I need to take a moment to start the rice for Taco No Cooking. So I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm just going to pop up I just need to get some rice going in the rice cooker. So I'll be back in about 3 minutes. Meanwhile...
So, congratulations. You just got hired at a Japanese publishing house. And you are wondering what you're going to be doing, and you get assigned to manga. And there's a manga magazine there. You're going to work for it. And when you go to work at that manga magazine, you get assigned to a particular manga title that is being published there. And probably your first one goes for a little while and then dies. Then you do another one and it dies. But eventually you work on one and it succeeds. And then at some point it's successful enough that you want to really promote it and make it a big deal. A lot of manga only goes for 6 issues, 10 issues, and then it just kind of peters out. But some of them succeed. So how do you make this bigger? One way is to fund an anime series. This is one of the kind of weird little secrets that a lot of folks don't know about the industry, is that much of anime, about 40%, we'll get to exact numbers later, are not only manga adaptations, they are to a great degree financed by the publishers of those manga, right? The anime can be seen as an ad for the manga. The success of the anime is driven by how well that drives sales of the manga. Not completely, but as a major element in what they're doing. So, how do you do this? So basically, this is, again, as about 2013, about 40% of all anime are manga adaptations, 13% are adaptations of books which are usually light novels, so these short novels, about 200 pages. Video games, visual novels is a separate category because they've gotten significant enough sequels. Only about 13% are original stories. The shorts are mostly part of governmental projects or animation festivals, things along those lines. You don't normally see the shorts on television, per se. So, it's another way of looking at that. So you can kind of see how these things have grown and changed over time. The one big thing you will see that has changed significantly is that the number of books in green there in the middle increased dramatically around 2006. I think that is because that's when Haruhi Suzumiya came out, which was adapted from a light novel and was hugely popular. I think that drove a lot of adaptations. Anyway, so to give you an idea, here are the 10 manga magazines with the most circulation as of 2011. It doesn't change that much over time. As you can see, of those 6 are shonen, i.e. they're aimed at young boys. Tween and young teen boys, we'll say. So if you've ever wondered why so much anime seems aimed at that target demographic, that's because These are the people financing it, right? Our manga magazines doing that. Also note that the top 2 have more circulation than the next 5 combined. So it's those that really drive the industry. Shonen Jump publishes Dragon Ball and One Piece and Naruto and those big ones. So they have the money to actually pour into those shows. It's the reason why those shows have hundreds of episodes and other series do not.
That took longer than I expected. Apologies. So spin to win. So I should backtrack and explain the issue with the dramatic reading from a hilarity perspective, like why we make fun of it, is it is conflating nudity, sex, pornography, and hentai. That those are all, that people, if people don't like hentai, it means they don't like nudity, or if people don't like nudity, that means they're, it's those are very different things. Very, you cannot argue that those are comparable in any reasonable way. But spin to win, if you're arguing that because a thing exists, then one should accept it and not do anything about it, is an exceedingly problematic argument. As, let's say people living in the 1940s would have a problem with that argument. The Nazis are part of society, so we should just live with it and just let it be. Oh well. And no, I'm not saying this is like hentai. So yeah, so that's why it's like, no, that person was not making a reasonable point there. That's saying you're going to lose flies in the face of society as a whole. We do not live, that is like somebody 1,000 years ago saying slavery is a part of society. And so we can never stop it. We can never lose it. You're going to lose that fight until people started fighting that fight and winning. Until William Wilberforce came along and won that fight. Society, if that were true, society would be static and completely would never change. So these things can shift over time. I just remembered. Had to cut down on a little thing. Good. But anyway, okay. So I want to do the review. So as I mentioned, the rice is cooking for the onigiri we're going to make later on tonight, hopefully, and we're just going to see how all that goes. So, Russet asks, what's the difference between seinen and shonen? It's a kind of complicated question and opinion. Hey, Rockman, good to see you. So technically, shonen means entertainment for boys, roughly tween to young teen boys, sort of a demographic. And seinen is entertainment for young adult men, so late teen, early adult, late teen, early 20s, males. But shonen, for example, and so seinen stories tend to be a little more sophisticated, a little more complicated. Shonen stories tend to be a little more straightforward adventure. But shonen has evolved its own kind of tropes amongst the most popular within the shonen demographic, if you will. So shonen also means this trope of a team of youths led by an unusually skilled or talented hero who then goes out and fights some evil over the course of many, many, many episodes. So, and usually in some kind of fantastical or science fictional environment or universe. So that is kind of the shonen genre, if you will, even though it's technically a demographic. You know, words are complicated. All right. So let's go ahead and do the review. Because I think, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's time.
These research studies explain how film experiences may help students learn increased amounts of new information, which is remembered longer, and which therefore may be applied efficiently to problem-solving situations as pupils progress from lower to higher grades. In the intermediate grades, the need for providing real experiences about things studied continues. Good teaching methods include the use of pictures, the chalkboard, models, and charts, usually before the learners turn to the pages of books for information. Some of the pupils can recall experiences of their own about pupas, larvae, and insects, and they can describe them to their classmates as they refer to charts like these. But for all the children in the classroom to really understand how things move and grow and develop from one stage to another, something else is needed. Something which can bring living experiences right into the classroom, experiences that are as lifelike as reality itself. What would happen if sound motion picture films were added as study materials in this classroom?
Have you ever watched something and thought, I'm not enjoying this, but I enjoy other things like this. Why isn't this working for me? At first blush, The Garden of Sinners has a lot of the elements I like in anime. An often deliberate pace, punctuated by feverish action, distinctive characters that aren't excessively weird, and some layers of philosophy. Based on a series of light novels by Fate-stay Night writer Kinoko Nasu, The Garden of Sinners, or Kara no Kyokai, is actually a mini-series of 7 roughly 1-hour movies that were released between 2007 and 2013. The first problem for me appeared in the animation of the opening scenes after the credits. Even for anime of this era, there are a lot of still shots or shots of characters where nothing moves except for their lips. Now, I'm an anime fan. I'm used to that, but there is a lot of that. And the second problem relates to a little secret of animation. Look at my hand. When was the last time you saw actual animation of a character doing this, holding something up to their lips with their fingers? I bet you can't think of one. If a character is eating, we almost always see their hand hovering some distance from their mouth or close to it. Why? Look at how the shapes of my fingers are changing as my hand moves. It's actually very hard to not just render all of that in 2D, but also do that in a way that looks natural. The hand doesn't just rotate. The fingers are also flexing and shifting under the weight of whatever's in the hand. In the Garden of Sinners, when the characters do move, a lot of their movements get little details wrong. Just, fingers a little bit too short or whatever. Nothing major, but just enough to be noticeably off-model. And this makes the animation neither completely naturalistic nor stylized. Further, the Garden of Sinners' visuals set itself in a gritty, realistic world. While there are supernatural elements, the film does an admirable job of matching foreground colors to backgrounds, making the characters feel like they're actually standing in a corner of a room, or standing on a street corner. But because that animation is often just a little bit off, I felt myself pulled out of the environment, realizing that I'm watching anime characters. Thankfully, the animators completely avoid any of these standard anime visual cliches like nosebleeds or face faults, which would feel completely, utterly out of place in a gritty, grounded environment, like this one. There are two major action sequences, which are given commendably high budgets. Unfortunately, in both cases, they involve supernatural characters with powers that aren't defined until that point. See, action sequences are meant to provoke an adrenaline response, and adrenaline comes from fundamental crises of survival or identity. Will someone die? Will someone get badly maimed? Will the hero be prevented from accomplishing a task that is very important to him or her? All that is bound up in the action and what the action can represent in the plot. But when we don't know what the characters in an action sequence are capable of, the adrenaline just doesn't fire very strongly. Now, if an action sequence can't do that, it should tell us something about the character, basically, who protects whom. While the first action sequence in the film does tell us something about the protagonist, the second doesn't. Worse, the second uses extremely high-budget action animation of the protagonist leaping and dodging with highly dexterous movements to attack stationary targets. 7 of them in a row. After the first 3, her actions make her look kind of foolish. Why is she exerting so much energy on stationary targets? It just doesn't seem reasonable. But that's not all the Garden of Sinners offers us. Between the action sequences, we get scenes of the teenage girl protagonist and an adult mentor woman discussing this sort of case they're on. And the latter character often offers some philosophical theories about what's going on. There's quite a lot of philosophy in this, but I found myself tuning it out. Why didn't I enjoy the quiet philosophy of this the way I did in, say, Serial Experiments Lane? Well, Lane introduces philosophy from multiple characters, pretty much all of whom are shown to be wrong about that at least once. Further, and more importantly, the characters act in ways that agree with the philosophy they describe. In Garden of Sinners, while a few characters do offer some of these philosophical explanations for others' behavior, they do so passively. They're just saying, this is why this might have happened. They don't appear to care about the ideas they offer, nor do they personify those beliefs, which means I found myself not caring much either. And this is another central problem. Of the 3 primary characters, the protagonist has a quite closed personality, another is just cool and detached, while the third is clearly the emotive human heart of the group. Unfortunately, that final character is only involved in the very first and last scenes of the film, leaving us primarily with 2 distant people who almost never actually react to anything. It's hard to get emotionally reacted and emotionally invested in 2 characters who barely ever show an emotion. Now, another more emotional character is introduced into the story halfway through, but that has its own problems that unfortunately I can't explain without spoiling the plot. Then there's the blatant Haagen-Dazs commercials scattered throughout. While this is worked into the story as a plot point, the camera lingers for so long on these little cups of ice cream that are rendered in so much detail that I couldn't just take them as a passing element of the story. They significantly detracted from my ability to pay attention to the film. It was just right there in the middle of it. Speaking of, though, the music, while beautiful on its own, and one of those soundtracks I would like to own, it feels extremely big. And though it certainly feels epic, it's often a bit too epic for the scene it's scoring, and occasionally just blares at you as if to demand that you feel this particular emotion. While mostly effective, and I'm not trying to over-dramatize it, it's just a bit overblown at certain points. Now, there are some really interesting visuals. The story involves the suicides of teenage girls at an old apartment building that's scheduled for demolition. The crumbling building and the youthfulness of the victims provides for some interesting visual contrast, as does the building's mundane, comforting purpose as a house and the sinister danger of its rusted and warped ephemera. Similarly, the mentor figure makes dolls and mannequins as kind of a side job, it seems, and the parallels between the dispassionate protagonist and the dolls she stands next to are almost painfully obvious, especially in a post-Ghost in the Shell world. The voice actors do a fine job of keeping their performances cool but not flat. The characters don't talk like robots. They do have humanity behind them. And I should say, this is just the first movie of 7. I don't want to be too harsh here. The beginning of a series is often not as strong as later installments, and that could be, what's going on here. Overall, I feel frustrated. It's not that I hated this film, but I kept wanting one of its elements to stand out, and none of them really did. And where the film did attempt something remarkable, like those action sequences, they were insufficiently established to feel fundamentally satisfying. And where other strange, enigmatic stories in anime, like Lane or Boogie Pop Phantom, left me wanting more, this just left me discontented, like watching a butterfly try to fly like a bird. If you can't fly, you should at least glide gracefully, and at least this movie within the Garden of Sinners franchise didn't quite manage that for me. Oops. So yep, that was my thoughts there. Strongest anime character. Yeah, Haruhi. Haruhi without a doubt. Hard to argue with that. Although, yeah, I could argue Washu from Tenchi as of OVA 3. What's revealed about Washu indicates she's definitely in Haruhi territory, but whatever. Obviously, that is one of those arguments that will never be won. Like, what's the most powerful mecha? Depends on your universe. What's more powerful? Star Trek or Star Wars? Well, there's no comparison. Like, there's nothing to really. There's no basis for one over the other. How strong is this versus that? We can't tell. All right, so I'd like to move into the debate. Yeah, the Ideon. I mean, the Ideon's definitely up there. I would argue Ideon if I had to, but it's just compare that to Gunbuster, right? Where Gunbuster's pretty darn powerful. But Ideon does, well, spoilers. But the powers it is revealed to have at the end, and the problem with the Ideon is, this is really exciting, I know. The problem with the Ideon is it's not so much the powers of the mecha, it's the power of the Ide energy. It's that Ide force within the Ideon that is just kind of, that is animating the Ideon, but that is the force that is actually doing a lot of those things, so it's not really the mecha. Yeah. No, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say the Gunbuster is just a powerful mecha. Like, I don't think I don't think the Gunbuster is shown to have any anything crazy there. But anyway. Not sure. So, let me I need to take another quick break here. So I think I will show you a little bit more of that con panel as I check on the rice to make sure that's working correctly, because it's one of those things where it's like, I want to make sure all of the, the mechanics are working the way I expect. And so I'll be back in just a few minutes.
So, what are some of the other mediums you might be adapting? Light novels. So these are, again, about 200-page novels with kind of large print that have evolved over time as to have anime-style storylines often. So, light novels are both a medium and a genre in a sense. In the same way that young adult fiction over here often has a fantasy or science fiction element. This is kind of how it's evolved over time. These tend to have kind of an anime feel to them, or a manga feel to them. And a lot of them get adapted into anime. So Haruhi Suzumiya, Kino's Journey, Certain Magical Index and Railgun were both novels originally. And Boogie Pop and Others was actually what started the trend. Boogie Pop was kind of the Harry Potter of this field back in, I think, the late 90s. It came out and really popularized this as a medium. When you're adapting a manga, it's a little difficult to figure out exactly what you're going to adapt, exactly how you're going to adapt it to anime. You think, the pacing of a manga does not necessarily match 26 episodes. You're going to figure out what of that story you're going to adapt and how it's going to fit into that amount of time. But you're also kind of limited because you already have this, the art and the story you're trying to tell. With a novel, you have a little more flexibility in terms of how much story you can tell. You can stretch and squeeze that more elegantly with a novel than you can with a manga, for example. This is one of the reasons they're a little more popular. Also, because light novels are short, and you don't have to draw them, a writer can write 2 or 3 light novels a year. That means that by the time you're done with one season of an anime series, you can wait a couple more seasons. By next year, there's enough material already written for season 2 of the anime. So it's a little easier to make that franchise go and drive over time. It's what's happened with Certain Magical Index. Is they did like one season of that, waited a little while, did a season 2, then did Railgun, and meanwhile you had the novels coming out to kind of give you the material for that. Then you have video games as a adaptation. Oh, I should also point out that light novels, they almost always hire an artist for both the cover and half a dozen to a dozen illustrations within the novel of things that happen in them. And the advantage there is when you adapt to anime, you already have some illustrative concepts of character designs. They still have to be reworked for the anime, but it kind of helps you get off the ground. With video games are even more flexible. No one expects the plot of the anime to match the plot of the video game. So you've got to tell your own story there, but you already have your setting, you already have your characters. A lot of that groundwork has already been laid for you for the anime series. That's kind of a blessing and a curse in that there's more work to do, but you also generally have a much larger built-in audience for video games. Video games are big enough now that it just makes a lot of sense to make an anime adaptation out of those sorts of things. Then you have visual novels, sort of a split-off of video games that are significant. So if you haven't, has anyone here actually played a visual novel? Okay, good. So a visual novel is basically a choose-your-adventure story told with characters. Text and usually voice acting also is appearing as you go. So you get text and lines of dialogue and characters come in and out and basically act out a scene, although there's no animation per se. It's just characters appearing and not appearing. And then every so often you'll get a little choice, and you click on one of the choices, and then you go on from there. These are not unreasonable choices in this game, FYI. So visual novels are, they have a lot of advantages in that you already have character designs, you already have voice actors chosen, you already have storylines. It's much less expensive to adapt a visual novel to an anime because much more of the work has been done than adapting a manga or a light novel, things along those lines.
And we're back. I have not seen the second episode of Tada in Love. I actually have not had a chance to catch up on anything lately. Very busy week at work. So I was, and also my allergies flared up this week. So I have just been curled up in a ball when I wasn't at work all week. So unfortunately, no, but I'm hoping to get to some of that anime this weekend before this coming up week, which will be my media fast. Speaking of, should let you all know that next week my plan is to review the manga of Bunny Drop because I've heard the controversy around the ending of Bunny Drop and I don't buy it. I don't believe that the ending is what people claim it is. I think people are passing around something that somebody wrote on Tumblr once, personally. And the way I'm going to find that out is by actually reading it and getting to the end. So this weekend I'm planning to devote to reading Bunny Drop and seeing where that ending actually is. you're absolutely right, Hem. You know, within Gundam, Turn A is definitely the most powerful Gundam. That is hard to argue against in any reasonable way. All right, so welcome to the Great Debate, where today we wanted to spend just a few minutes talking about some of the things I think are healthy, believe it or not, in anime fandom, particularly the sorry, I'm gonna have to start that again. So the thing, Tonto, is, yeah, it's in the wiki. That's the problem, is that I do not believe, or more accurately, you know, that is somebody else writing about what they read, possibly in some scanlation somewhere. You know, that's one of those things where it's like, I go back to the source to really, you know, go back to the source to if you want to have I mean, informed opinion is a little bit over the top on that, but it's one of those, okay. And so for those looking and wondering what I'm talking about, Bunny Drop is about a man who adopts what appears to be his grandfather's love child, who's this very little girl, and raises her as his own. Come to find out, apparently, that they are not actually related. She was adopted in because of something that happened. I don't know. But the internet claims that at the end of the manga, they start dating. And I don't, you know, I think that is people, I don't think it's that simple. I'll put it that way. But I'm going to read the manga to find out. So, yeah, I don't think, and to be clear, like, this is a shoujo manga with no fan service. It's very serious. It's not serious in the way of being dark, but it's just it is a, you know, it is a story about raising a little girl. So there's just like, I don't. I think that's people reading into it, or there's something else going on, or whatever. Anyway, so like I said, I will dig into it and let you all know. Yeah, I've seen one up, and the anime series doesn't go anywhere. I mean, the manga goes until she's a young adult, until she's, I mean, judging from the art on the cover, she's, you know, certainly late teens, maybe 20. By the end of the manga series, and the anime is just of the very beginning of that story, basically. Like, it's 10 volumes, and I think the anime only goes to the first, like, 3 volumes or something. So it doesn't get anywhere near that, but I don't know. So yeah, let me start this again. Welcome everyone to the Great Debate, where I wanted to talk about the healthier, the positive aspects of American anime fandom. And no, I'm not trolling. I think a lot of people talk about these things, and you know, it's easy to be crabby about the state of things. It's easy to complain and see all the negative things. But I think it's worthwhile to look at the positives as well, and some of the things that fandom does right. And I think certainly one of the things is the fact that anime fandom in particular, is particularly open towards different representations of characters, where, you know, if you want to cosplay as a particular character, you know, with a slightly different color scheme, people don't freak out. You know, if you want to cosplay as a character in a certain situation, people don't freak out about that. Certainly not as bad as in other fandoms, where, you know, how dare you do this? You know, we seem to be pretty fine with people reinterpreting and thinking about characters. Now, obviously, people will humorously talk about, oh, you know, that's crazy, that's ridiculous. But there doesn't seem to be, you know, the harassment that you see in other fandoms when people reinterpret other characters and that kind of stuff. To that point, I think anime fandom in particular is much more open about fan use and reuse of characters. Famously doujinshi and things like that, where even the creators are very chill about people doing their own comics and their own fan art and such of those characters. And I think that's overall a healthy attitude, especially because I think the fandom has established this very clear separation between fan work and like professional and professional work. And by that I mean there's a big difference between drawing fan art of a character and posting on DeviantArt versus drawing a comic and trying to sell it for profit at a convention, right? Like you can have your comic and sell it for whatever you spent on making it, but you're not looking for profit out of those things. And we very much understand, I think, that if you are doing fan art of, Sakura from Naruto, you're doing that in a fan context, not in a business context. You're not trying to turn that into something profit making, and so I think that's really cool. There's also this wonderful familiarity between the fans and the creators. One thing going to conventions, I've always found it so remarkable how relaxed the attitude is at anime conventions between the people in the audience and the people on stage. The people on stage very much not only behave, are very polite and reasonable. They don't behave like they're stars. They don't behave like, ooh, all these people are adulating me, and they're not puffed up. They very much act and feel like reasonable, real people. So I think that's a remarkable thing, and you see that also in general, not just in not just at conventions, but also how the creators post on social media and how they talk about things. Over in other fandom, especially in other like American fandoms, the people who are making your various shows and so forth, they might post and do stuff and so forth, but there definitely feels like there's a bigger gulf between them and the fans, and they tend to keep themselves pretty separated from the fans, and that doesn't seem to be the same with the professionals in the anime industry, both North American professionals and Japanese professionals, and there seems to similarly be in general a similar respect within the fans, where the fans understand that these people are that you shouldn't show up at their house, right? Don't get that ridiculously obsessed with things. Japan indeed has had more problems with that than we have, which I think is a really cool thing. That especially in America, that we seem to understand that other people deserve a certain amount of private time and privacy in the general sense. I think that's a really cool thing. Another thing that's interesting to me, I think, about anime fandom too, is how, and this is something that's changed a lot over time, where there's a lot of no negativity, Tonto. We're not here to be negative. We have become, in general, we've actually, I don't know. When I talk to anime fans face to face, they're pretty understanding of, I like this and you like that, and that's fine, and the fact that people are going to have very different tastes. And I think on the internet, we have far fewer. Here's the thing. We argue and we disagree, but anime fans in general do not harass the way other fandoms do. You don't see the kind of behavior you see in the video games community and in other communities where like it crosses a line. And I really respect that about how our fandom, we can be as crazy and geeky and over the top as any other fan, but we seem to have so far avoided that aspect of, oh, you believe this about Dragon Ball Z? Well, I'm going to destroy your life by calling, it's like, we don't call SWAT teams on each other, which is kind of nice. So I think that's really good. I also really appreciate just in general convention culture. I've been to a couple of different types of conventions, and I think it's really cool that anime conventions are very safe environments, right? When I see a little kid at an anime convention, and it's not obvious that their parent is right there, I don't immediately go, parent, where are you? What's going on? I'll look around to make sure there's some adult that seems to have some, responsibility there. But, anime conventions are certainly not the Wild West scary place that they can be with other groups of people, right? It's just been very, very, one of those things that just works. We seem to have figured out how to make those safe, reasonable places where you can go, enjoy yourself, have a good time, and generally people are pretty. What's interesting about anime conventions is the positive energy there, and that is true of other conventions. But Gen Con, for example, which is a big tabletop gaming convention, while there's a positive energy, it's much more laid back. When I go to an anime convention, I always leave an anime convention feeling, dang, I want to watch more anime. And that is not true of other conventions and the way other things work. And I think that's one of the really cool things. Also, we're talking about panelists. And panels. I think panelists at anime cons are really good about providing information, staying after to answer questions, and generally, being available to be there compared to other cons where kind of you go there and somebody stands up, gives a talk, and then walks out. And it's not that other conventions or other fandoms are bad about this, but it seems we have a very, very open fandom in that sense, where you can just, hang out and talk with people, and that's fine. It's totally, it's totally really cool. I also appreciate that I think anime fandom has done better than other fandoms with cosplay and respect of cosplay. The whole cosplay is not consent and, hands off and asked to take a picture seem to me much more prevalent in anime cons than other conventions, where, when you're at a con and somebody takes a picture and doesn't ask for permission, people are shocked. Whereas other conventions, it's more, well, they should have, but just, that happens. So that's something I really think is really awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed Star City, Russ. That's a good con. That's another interesting thing too. Actually, I just realized, anime has tons of tiny conventions, right? There are little sci-fi conventions and other conventions and things like that, and that's certainly there in other fandoms. But there are hundreds of conventions in North America alone. We have this very, very vibrant con culture. And I think it's a really, really healthy thing, where it seems very easy for us to spin up conventions and make them available, again, compared to other fandoms and other interests. You certainly don't see about romance novelists, and there being hundreds of romance novel conventions all across the country. There will be some, but we just proliferate these things. We create them, all the time, which I think is really, really cool. So I think that's really nice, and I hope those sorts of things continue. I hope we have more of those elements and more of those things at our conventions and such, and in our fandom in general. I think every fandom has its problems. Everything in life we're all connected, so that means all the good stuff and the bad stuff. But I really appreciate how anime fandom has figured a few things out, and that they do that in ways that feel safe and comforting and open, but not in a way that is super weird. There are other fandoms where they try to be open to everybody and allow everybody in, and it's kind of this, please come to, do this thing, please be part of this. And you don't get that either. It's just kind of like, hey, we're anime fans. If you like it, great. If not, okay, fair enough. We'll try to convert you, but there's a certain chillness to anime fandom once you get past the, which character would kill the other in a battle stuff. And the sub dub wars and such. But I think we've got some stuff figured out. All right, I think that'll do for that one. I didn't want to belabor those points too much or kind of dive too much in. It's just more of a, hey, here's some cool stuff. All right, so I think what we should do now is move over into there and do some cooking and make some onigiri. So as usual, I think I'm just going to have to switch over because I don't have any more panel clips. Thank you, Russet, by the way, for those kind words. I always enjoy hanging out and talking with folks after panels. I always love just, dealing with people and having fun with how people are interested in the fandom, right? And how people are enjoying things, right? And I appreciate that spin. That is one of those cases where let's focus on this one aspect, and then we can focus on that, and then move on. Exactly, Hem. Sub versus dubs is like tabs versus spaces. That is perfectly right. My gosh. So hold on. This plugs in here. This plugs in here. This goes here. One second. Testing, cool. Okay, I should still be live, hopefully. Yeah, I put that particular person on timeout. One of those. It's time for your timeout. No more of that. All right, so I think we're live here. I'm not sure. That claims. I just got to do a quick check here. Make sure I'm seeing the new stream over here, and then we can go ahead and do Otaku no Cooking. Meanwhile, we'll pull out some materials. That's weird. One sec. Clean up anyway. Wow, it's interesting. That's very behind. No. Wow. Okay. Bizarre. I know how to teleport and all that kind of stuff, which is very handy. All right, so this is going to go down here. Good. So now I can see everything. Yeah, you guys can teleport? What? Really? Why not? All right, so... I'm going to make some onigiri here. And I need to set up some plans. Never made this before. No idea how this is going to turn out. And I don't have enough rice for like a couple of them. So I'm very curious about this method. Here. I think I'll just kind of toss this over here. There we go. Okay. Do they have any suggestions on? Okay. All right. So we're going to grab a plate and a cutting board, just as a work surface. Ooh. I'm going to burn myself. So, like that, put it off to the side. Good. All right. I think we can make this work. I have not seen the dub for Legend of the Galactic Heroes yet. The English dub, I assume you mean. I just haven't watched it yet. I don't know. All I have though, that light's on. Okay, good. Alrighty. Do this. Alright. Welcome everyone to Otaku no Cooking, where today we are making onigiri using the manga cookbook. And I'm just trying this. I have no idea. I've never made onigiri before. But what I have done is I have made some steamed rice using actual sushi rice. Not just regular, white rice. This is sushi rice. And I'm just going to try this. I have a couple of suggestions here from this particular recipes. We're going to try this. Loosely cover the top of a mug with a piece of plastic wrap. And I believe the plastic wrap is going to allow us to kind of form this without killing ourselves, which is kind of nice. So plastic wrap goes loosely on the mug. Sprinkle a pinch of salt onto the wrap. Okay. Pinch of salt. Leave that out. And add a handful of cooked rice. The amount is up to you. Let me grab a, I think I have a little soup here. Yep. Handful of rice. That's it. Whoa! Ha ha ha! Oh, that's hot. Okay. Yeah. Put some plastic wrap to seal the rice in tight. Yep, that's what's going on. Okay. Make a V shape with your thumb and forefinger. All right, so we're going to form this into cheese. This is really freaking hot. So that's a point. You want to kind of cool this down a little bit. Then I'm just making this into a triangular shape. You can see. And you want to pack the rice tightly. Ha! Jeez. Okay. So, note to self. Let the rice cool a little bit. And then we're going to cut these into, oops, that a little more triangular. We're going to cut these nori strips into 1-inch strips. And I think we're just going to use a pizza cutter. I'm going to try that. 1 inch, that seems like about 1 inch. Did that do it? No. No, it may need, okay. That is also an old pizza cutter. So I think we're going to cut it much more obviously, much more easily. That way. Now it seems to me that's ridiculously big. So we're going to go maybe like that and like that. Okay, is this, geez, still ridiculously hot. Wrap the bottoms, we hope it's onigiri. All right, so then we unwrap this. And we place the nori around like that. And there is our onigiri. That's, looks like onigiri to me. So let's keep on trying this. I'm not sure how much you can reuse the same piece of plastic wrap, but let's find out. My favorite shonen is still Kenshin. I'm trying something a little bigger. Yeah, I see why why the plastic wrap is convenient. It has started to cool off a little bit, so it's much more handleable now. But still hot is. They're saying to do kind of like this and like that. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I see. So you take it like this, and you do that. You're just kind of forming that V shape. Then you unwrap. Press that down a little bit. Grab a strip of nori. Wrap it around like that. And put it back. Yeah, that's probably, I probably am not going to have many more uses of this plastic because that sticky rice is all over it. So I'm learning. I agree, Spin to Win. Trust and Betrayal is one of those, you know, those classics of anime where it's like we all should watch this. Kind of like the Macross movie, you know, Akira, Ghost in the Shell. It's one of those, and obviously it's not that you're not a true fan if you haven't, but like these are important. These are, you should make the time for these. Ignore these. Oh, I forgot the salt. Okay, so do salt. Salt. All right. Falling everywhere. Android Cicada. Nice. Big O, big O, big O, big down. Okay, so they're saying we're going to do this and then this to form our large onigiri. Still quite hot. Keep making that mistake. All right. Squeeze that down and make our wedge shape here. Escaflowne. Nice. Yeah, Big O is definitely one of those unusual shows. Very intentionally so. I'm not knocking it. But it is It's very interesting when Japanese people do Christian allegories. Yeah, let's do some more. I think we're going to go wider now. Again, I'm just using kitchen shears to cut these. Ah, broke. That felt like it was about right in terms of length. Okay. So we need another sheet of plastic wrap. So yeah, this is very straightforward. Plastic wrap, pinch of salt. I'm using kosher salt because that's it grips very nicely. Ow, ow. Woo! Get down deep in that rice, and it is hot. I may be making these rice balls too big. Not sure. Yep, this is nori. Yeah, Trigun. I feel Trigun less so. I think Trigun is unfortunately one of those series that is probably going to be just a. It'll always be popular, but while it was a classic back in the day, it's just ceased to be. Like all the stuff of the 70s and 80s that folks, they were absolutely need to watch shows, and that now, like 8 Man, everyone. Like I know a lot of anime fans from back in the day. They were like, everyone should watch 8 Man. And now, not so much anymore. Even Star Blazers, Point to anyone who's watched Star Blazers Yamato. Even I could not quite take Yamato. Then you wrap your nori around it. This is so that you can eat it like this, just by holding onto the nori. That rice is very sticky. Right. Is that the sticky side? Can't tell what's the sticky side. No. This is going to be the side now. A bit of salt. Some rice. Use up the rest of this rice. Pull it together. And then let's go here. So we're going to do our V. This is now cool enough to work with without burning myself. Make that V, squash it into that shape, and just keep on squashing it. I'm learning here, I got to pay particular attention to this top ridge, which is a little hard to form into a very crisp edge, and there's a tendency for it to get very thick on the bottom, so I'm having to keep on squeezing that bottom. Careful. I'm pretty sure Burst Angel is shonen. Alright, unwrap this. I think I'm just going to be able to do this actually. Yeah, see how kind of lumpy that is? It's just not very even, so I'm going to even that out. And then wrap some loading over it. That's the one that kind of broke. Probably go a little longer on those nori strips. I can imagine making them half instead of a third of a sheet. And I'm just going to have to go still fairly small on this. That's just a lot of rice. You know what? I'm going to go long. I'm just going to go crazy. I'm going to make a giant... Actually, you know what I'm going to do? This is kind of small piece. Let's go crazy. Big piece of plastic wrap. Oh, jeez. Some salt. A very liberal amount of salt. A whole bunch of rice. I'm just going crazy on the rice. I'm going to make a giant onigiri. Because why not? Okay. If it fell out. Let's just see what happens here. Nice giant ball of rice. Don't want to squeeze it too hard. Yeah, that's a point. Good point. So we're just squeezing that into that wedge shape, triangle shape. Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with the kind of viscosity of sushi rice, like how easy it is to turn it into basically a paste or a gel by squeezing it. All right. But it's definitely very easy to shape. There's that. And I might just have to, yeah, I'm going to have to, this is too small. So I'm going to go ahead and let's try, yeah, it's a big old onigiri. So we're going to have a big old strip of nori, which is basically seaweed. Unwrap that. We look at it, we see it's a little lumpy, so we're going to make that a little more precise. Put our strip of nori onto there. There is a very lovely little bit of onigiri. Now, I'm going to take this one, and because I made it, ooh, the salt on the top, the little salt burst. So you just eat it. It's just a ball of rice. Very easy. Ah, nice. It tastes like rice. Like nothing too exciting there. By shaping it, that pinch of salt tends to get spread around the outside a fair amount, which adds a nice little punch to it. And then you just a little bit of that seaweed. That is very easy to eat. It's filling. It's a staple diet. I'm not familiar with the nutrients in rice, but a very large fraction of the human population has survived for millennia on rice as a staple diet. So it's probably pretty good for you. Better than a Big Mac. So that's making onigiri. It is, as you saw, basically just plastic wrap in a mug, some steamed sushi rice in that, and then you wrap the plastic wrap around it and shape it, and then cut off a little strip of this nori seaweed, which you can find online. I got this on Amazon, and you do this, and it's yeah, that is very, very tasty. And it's very easy to make, and I believe you basically refrigerate these and pull them out when you eat them. So that is that. That's onigiri. Thank you for watching. So yeah, I've seen yeah, and we need carbohydrates to survive. So yes, it is. There's a lot of carbohydrate in it. I'm not sure if it's mostly. I just do not know. So yeah, to that point, I have seen 1,000 anime, but not all the way through. But I passed the 1,000 mark recently. But a lot of those are episode 1s, right? That said, I know somebody who watches a DVD every night. So that's you know, at least that's let's say that averages 2 shows a week, maybe 3 shows a week, and you can go through that. 1,000 completed, I find that hard to believe, but there are people who've been watching anime since the 60s. So I believe it. There are certainly people, I'm sure Fred Schote, and I'm sure he's seen 1,000 anime all the way through. You have folks who've been watching anime for literally 40 years. And I find 1,000 believable. Hey, Bruno. Extreme, but believable. Not if you're like 25 years old, right? But possible. Okay. So that is that. Do you guys have any final questions for the evening before I head out? I do plan to do Kit Bash tomorrow. And then, like I said, should be doing other stuff out there. Yeah, benefit of the doubt. Who knows? And I mean, you want to claim that? Go for it. I don't care. In the dialogue that was surrounding Utano when it came out. I do not know the dialogue surrounding Utano when it came out in Japan. In America, there was people were highly impressed and were just completely blown away by it. There's a lot of people writing about how amazed and crazy and awesome it was. Unfortunately, it did not get a lot of attention outside of the typical shonen. I'm sorry, the typical shoujo market. Right? I'm gonna put these things in containers and see how well that does. Probably not well. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? How to store onigiri. What do they recommend? Keeping them fresh. Oh, how to wrap onigiri. Make it the night before. Oh, okay. They really should be made day of. Wrap them in plastic wrap. Good to know. Okay, let's do that then. Why did you decide to record all your content as live streams? Time. Quite simply, it is very, very difficult. Wow. I'm going to be eating a lot of rice tomorrow, apparently. It takes me, well, if I am doing a regular review video the way I used to years ago, it would take me about 4 times as long to assemble, record it, edit it, and so forth and so on, than the way I do it now as a live stream. Just because of getting out the camera, setting everything up, doing all that stuff. So, by doing them as live streams, I can actually do more things and get them done and get them out there. And I think I'm going to put those in containers. I can just put them in plastic wrap. So and it's not. The other thing too is I enjoy the live streams and hanging out with people. So I would. That is one of the things that motivates me to actually make this stuff. If I'm just making videos and posting them out there and never seeing any reactions or anything, that's not very fun for me. So the live streams are an important part of just my enjoyment of the process. I do not make any money off YouTube. Never have, never will. I mean, I've made maybe a couple of dozen dollars over the course of my entire career on YouTube. So that's never been a thing I can really rely on. So for me, it's much more fun to hang out and make videos than to just do videos on my own in a corner of my apartment, right? Interesting. The Batman Ninja dub is different than the Japanese one. Ah, interesting. I would have to watch it to comment. So here's the problem. So Sunderwin, I totally appreciate your perspective on that. That you should know what you're talking about. Part of the problem is that there's no way to define that in any objective way. You know, at what point has one acquired enough information to know what they're talking about? There's always another article to read, always another factoid to learn about who made it, or so forth and so on. Now, that does not mean you just throw up your hands and say, "Oh well." But I think one has to come up with what. Part of that too is a question of what you're reviewing, meaning that when I review Garden of Sinners, I am primarily talking about the animation and the voice acting and the music and so forth. And I think that I can review without knowing who made it. That is a relatively objective thing to talk about or write about. But Garden of Sinners is a great example where that is set in kind of a shared universe, quasi-shared universe. It was an early work by a creator, and that's the first movie of 7. So it is important to judge it with on those merits, recognizing that it is it's not the end of a thing; it is the very beginning of a thing. So that's one of those complicated things. I do agree with the idea that I have problems with people who review things and say the same things everyone else does, and are just kind of parroting the same talking points everyone else does. To me, it's one of those things where it's like, you certainly have the right to that opinion, but I don't understand why you are broadcasting it to the world. That opinion is easy to find. It's not adding to the conversation compared to coming in and saying, well, here's this thing I am noticing about this. Here's a thing I want to talk about or write about or say, right? And what is a review to that point too, where I don't think we have a very good working definition of review. Most things I see out there would not pass muster as a review in 20 years ago in a review magazine. If you submitted the average anime review to a cinema journal, a professional cinema journal, they'd laugh because it's like all you're doing here is saying, well, I hated the voice acting. It's like, so there's nothing in there. And okay, so we do that. Should probably have more salt. Okay, yeah. Can be frozen. Ooh, and then you can grill this. Nice. Interesting. That's good to know. This is where you get crotchety. Okay. Is a 0 score on a review justifiable? Yes, as long as you have justified your ranking system. Right? If you have been clear about what a 0 means, then sure. But that is that is usually, a score is simply, I didn't like it. Like, there's nothing, there is nothing objective behind most scores, in other words, right? It looks like it does not require flour. Let's see here. Yaki onigiri. Yaki onigiri. What is yaki onigiri? I'm assuming yaki just means grilled. Grilled rice ball. Covered in soy sauce. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Traditionally grilled over charcoal. We just do it in a cast iron pan. Commonly glazed with soy sauce or miso. Interesting. Looks like you can do a variety of different sauces as long as it's more or less sweet and sour. It needs to have some sweetness and some well, I guess sweet and savory is soy sauce, ideally. Cool. So yeah, it looks like you just pan fry it. Yep. You pan fry, and then you brush it with soy sauce. Cool. I have to try that. Huh. Yeah. No, I mean, I assumed with frying you'd need something else, but apparently that sushi rice is so glutinous that it just holds together. And you just throw those into a heated pan with some oil, and then brush on some soy sauce. Interesting. Well, I don't have to do that with those, because there's no way I'm eating like 5 rice balls in a day. That was already pretty filling. What's cool about that is it's filling, it's easy, it's quick, and it's a staple food. So you can just kind of down it, and unlike other things like vegetables, that will make you feel full. So you can down that, and it's, like I said, it's a lot better than a bag of Doritos. Vegetables would be even better, but yeah, no, I hear you, Spin. One of the reasons I started doing anime reviews is because I saw so many, no offense to them, but 14-year-olds just getting on there saying, I love anime, and this anime is awesome, period. It's like, good for you, but that's not really helping the conversation, not really adding to the conversation. We need your expertise when it comes to talking about anime. It's why I like to do analysis videos as well as review videos. I think that provides more value, but they just get fewer views. So I kind of got to do everything. So I should point out, so as I said, tomorrow Kit Bash. I should be finishing up, I think, the Zaku 2s. And then I've got, excuse me, what else? I've got some, drawing, Workshop Wednesday, all the normal stuff this coming up week. I am planning on taking a bit of a breather, probably sometime in a month or so. I'll take like a week or 2 off from doing the live streams. It's nice to have a free Friday night to do other stuff and plan out for a nice long weekend, stuff like that. I love doing this, but if I do this every Friday night for too long, then I get a little tired of it and I get frustrated. And it's one of those things where it's good to build in a few breaks so you don't feel exhausted ever. So that'll be the plan there. And I can't think of anything else. Oh, I should also, another thing. I'm probably going to make the mini painting a monthly feature of Workshop Wednesday, because I felt kind of bad doing mini paintings for 3 weeks in a row, and I painted most of my minis, almost all of my minis. So I want to just be able to come in and do mini painting for in 2 hours or so once a month, and then spend the rest of the Workshop Wednesdays on everything else, so I'm not kind of overloading the schedule there. So probably sometime in May, I'll do another mini painting thing, and otherwise we'll be doing an electronics project and lots of other things. In fact, this week we will be doing. I'll be taking an LED light strip, one of those things you can buy, and just a strip of LEDs, and then cutting it into pieces and rewiring it so that I can use it as lights in cabinets. So I'll basically show you how to, where to cut those, how to rewire them in such a way that you can kind of have a strip here, and then some wires going down, and a strip there, and some wires going over here, and a strip continuing there, and so forth and so on. Will I get the other Labo kits? I'm on the fence, Russet. That's a great question. I really, really enjoy that Labo kit. In fact, I brought it to work yesterday because one of my bosses brought in one of his kids, and so he was able to play Labo for a while in the office. And I really find that toolkit and all that really fascinating. So I might, but they're relatively expensive given what you get in terms of. I'll put it this way: I feel like that Labo kit gives me so much to play around with that's what I'll do. I will, once I have gotten more out of that Labo kit, then I'll revisit the question of getting more Labos. But I want to get a feel for how much I can do with that one, and then decide. So yeah, I think that's it, and those are the big things. So we will see. And yeah, thank you all very much as always. This has been a really fun night. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. Take care, all.